All right, so I'm currently on the phone with Dino. He's another one of the musicians that reached out about the interview series. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
My name is Dino Perelli. I use the stage name Dino Danger. I'm a lifelong musician. I played in my first band I put together in 1967, and I've played every kind of bar and honky tonk and concerts and original and cover material that you could think of.
Awesome. So, tell me a bit about when you first found music. What about it kind of drew you in and made you want to make a life out of it?
Well, when I was even very young, 3 and 4 years old, I had a little record player, and I would play my dad's albums and my sister's 45s. I've got a sister who is 5.5 years older than me. And my dad was a musician when he was younger, before he got married and started having kids. He played saxophone and clarinet. And so I was always into music, and I would just listen to the record player. I'd sing along with them and that kind of thing. Started taking lessons right in first grade. It started out as guitar, but that's hard on a little kid's fingers. So then I went to piano in second and third grade, switched to drums in fourth grade, played those for a couple of years. Then in sixth grade, I got a guitar, and I pretty much realized, because I like to sing, so having a guitar and being able to sing is kind of what I went with. And that first year, we put a band together. We were all like right about, well, it's seventh grade. We put the band together in Chicago, in South Chicago. And it was five of us. It was called The Reason Why. And we were all the same age. We were all in seventh grade. And by the time we hit eighth grade, we got picked up by just a little local label called Cha Cha Records out of Chicago. And they would look for bands like us. We were doing some original material. We had written a couple original songs. And of course, most of the stuff we played was covers at that time, and a lot of stuff from Woodstock back then, 1969. And so we did a couple original tunes, and they put out a little 45 for us, which, you probably sell a few hundred copies to your family and friends, kind of thing. His goal was to try and move us up to a larger label. But at 13 and 14 years old back then, nobody seemed interested. And my parents moved to Las Vegas when I was 16, and that started the whole new odyssey of, where you get so seasoned in playing just a little bit of everything and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I've played in show bands for lounges, and I've played in, biker bars. I played country bars with chicken wire in front of the screen, and some of the biggest hotels in the country. So it's been a bit of a journey.
Awesome. So tell me a bit about, first getting into like learning instrumentation and, what kind of choices you made to figure out how you were going to participate in music.
Well, I didn't start taking lessons till I got the guitar. So I took those in seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th grade. And I was fortunate enough to have a man named Ed Myers, who owned the North Shore Conservatory of Music in Chicago, was an old friend of my dad's. And he had creds. He was the guitar player on the original recording of The Girl from Ipanema. He used to play in the Ed Sullivan Pit Orchestra, that kind of thing. So I worked with him for 4 years, and he was teaching me jazz. I was playing Rodgers and Hammerstein and stuff and learning to read it, But in the meantime, we're doing this band, and it's like nobody in the band were readers and everything. Everything was just kind of learning, on the instrument by ear. And most of the stuff I had to learn was like, well, here's the record, or record it on the radio on a cassette and learn it from there, So I developed a little of each. But once I stopped taking the lessons, it all became about being by ear, I think, for me, And to this day, I can sight read chord charts, but if you just put a melody line in front of me, I'd have to sit and work on it, But I could sit in with just by ear and I have, with virtually anybody, maybe Steely Dan might be a problem, but
Sure. Awesome. So, would you say then that the majority of the way that you learned to play music was outside of a traditional curriculum? It was mainly, private lessons and then learning on your own kind of thing?
Well, because I started on my own, then I took the lessons, but then I was back on my own again. So it's been mostly just, copping stuff from some of your favorite guitar riffs and things like that, just learning how to play them. And you develop the ear training. It seems to be what it's all about as far as improvising and everything else. It's like the Yamaha method. Those kids will read fly shit on the paper, But if you ask them to just improvise a blues solo or something, they just have no feel. They're lost and stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So, how long do you think it took you before you actually started reaching out to like other musicians to play with, and you felt comfortable writing in that environment?
Well, like I say, we were in seventh grade, so you're talking about 13 years old, and there was myself and another guitar player who I thought was a little better player than me, but I had the option of I was the lead singer. You know, I could actually carry a tune, fortunately, and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it brought, finally the five of us got together, and it was actually good because in South Chicago it kept us off the streets a little bit too, because we always had the band. You know, we had rehearsals a couple times a
Mm-hmm.
week, and it was good for us. And we won a couple of little local contests. You know, we got that little record deal and stuff. And I can't help but wonder what would have happened with that band had my parents not moved me to Las Vegas at 16. And
Sure.
that, like I say, that was a whole different thing, you know.
So that wasn't just you mentioned learning by picking up other tunes and stuff and learning songs that already existed. So that band when you were in seventh grade wasn't just covers. That was also writing original stuff.
Yeah, I was writing, and the other guitar player wrote a little bit of stuff. I was doing the lyrics, and there was, well, the single we cut. One song I wrote the lyrics and the music, and the other song he wrote the music, I wrote the lyrics. And we only had, 4 or 5 tunes. We were doing mostly
Mm-hmm.
covers. You know, we were just young
Okay.
kids. I mean, we were dressing in uniforms and stuff, but it gave us an edge because we'd get to play for the adults, but we'd get to play the school dances as well, so it worked out nice.
Sure. Yeah, that's awesome. So once
We
you
actually
did,
got to open up for the Ides of March ones. Still in
very
high
cool.
school.
So once you did relocate to Las Vegas, then did you kind of go through a similar process of getting people together, or did you take any time off? What was that transition like?
Well, I mean, in Las Vegas over a certain period of years, I mean, I was playing with a lot of different acts, I mean, sometimes I would try and start my own thing, and that's a process in itself back then. You got a lot of time to rehearse the material, and then you got to start looking for gigs and everything. So a lot of times I would freelance. I was just a gun for hire, and I would just find somebody that needed a singer, mostly a guitar player. So I ended up playing with a lot of different bands and show bands and that type of thing, and that really opened up my variety of experiences and stuff, because I was, playing with guys like Sam Butera from Louis Prima's band and stuff. But I was also working with bands that were just doing top 40 dance stuff, and then I'd play with a country band for a while. So your ears just get, like I say, you learn your interval training and your different riffs, and patterns and stuff. So I mean, I always joke around with people. I do a little thing called Europa by Santana. I say I take some liberties with this,
Mm-hmm.
and you had people go, "Oh, that's great." I said, "Well, I could teach you how to play that in 8 lessons, but they got to be spread out over 10 or 15 years."
Funny. So how long did you stay in Las Vegas then? Are you still there?
No, I'm well, it's always been home because my parents were there and stuff, and I was all over the road. I was down in Texas for a while. I mean, I lived in Atlanta for a while. One time and I remember this. I've also gone through 4 wives during that process, so that was a big thing in itself. And 2 of them, the first 2, actually played in the band with me. Because we were out on the road, it was easier to put a pretty girl in the band, even if she couldn't do that much. I call it the Linda Mccartney syndrome.
Sure.
Because it's like she couldn't sing or play, but it was easier, for her to get up on stage with Paul than to sit in a hotel room night after night on tour.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, and I actually had to fire my first 2 wives from the bands, but that was no easy chore. And
Okay.
but so I mean that's what just makes it tough, and sometimes you're on the road and then come down. Now since the early 90s, I started just doing a sequence single, because I could at that point. So
Mm-hmm.
that just became the easiest way for me to just go out and play for pay. And like I joke around to people, I said, I'll play a Mind Cave in if the money's right,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm covering everybody from Sinatra to Led Zeppelin or Queen or whatever, and country and everything else, just depending on what the gig calls for.
Sure.
Some gigs, they just want me to play country. Some gigs, they want more, 70s and 80s rock and roll or something. So I don't do a lot of real current stuff anymore, like I used to, but Now I'm semi-retired. I play a couple times a week, and that's enough.
Okay, and
But I'm still recording. I'm still recording and writing and things.
Did you mention whether or not you were still in Vegas or if you had moved around somewhere else?
No, right now I'm in Central Florida. I've been here since April of 2016.
Okay, gotcha. So you did mention that you are still recording and stuff. So tell me about that. What stuff are you working on now?
Well, right now, if you go, my website is super simple. It's just Dino, D-I-N-O, DinoDanger.com, which is how I picked up that whole moniker in Las Vegas. It was just a joke. It started out, and then I go, well, once I registered the domain, I go, well, this is really easy to remember. And I've had it for so long, it always comes up at the top, if you Google me and stuff like that. So it's DinoDanger.com. And I've got a whole page on there that has 18 original songs you can listen to for free. And one of them, I've got them in 3 sections. One of them was a solo album I recorded and produced and wrote all the songs, and I'm playing all the instruments. It was called There's Danger in Vegas. That came out about 95 or so. And that's on there. And then I've also I had a band called Danger Zone in the mid and later 90s that we came pretty close with that band. We had some nice stuff going on, but just, shit happens kind of thing. And but there's some songs on there. There's 4 or 5 songs by that band, and there's horns and everything on there. But 4 of those songs were actually produced by I can't remember his name now, but he's did some Judas Priest production and stuff with them. And then there's another little section which are some songs that I've written in just the last 2 or 3 years, or that I haven't done anything with. I just make demos of, like here at home. And I'll put them out there because I also use it as kind of a digital copyright.
Okay, sure. Yeah, definitely. So along those lines, do you think kind of once you have your material together and you're ready to release, you'll kind of focus more on that digital release cadence?
Well, things have changed so much. I mean, you got to remember, I was chasing the original thing way back in the mid 70s and later 70s and stuff. I mean, I've been doing it, and what happens is I play the cover stuff to pay for my little jaunts into doing the original stuff. Like the one album I said on my website there by Danger Zone, everybody had day gigs, the rest of the band. My day gig was a casino job that I was the entertainment director at a little casino on Boulder Highway. So I could take off whenever I wanted. Well, there's not a lot of original gigs, for original bands in Vegas. So, but it was nice to have that luxury, if we booked something and I could just say, oh, well, I'm going to book somebody else in my place and I can take that night off. I even did a series of concerts where in 92, 3, and 4, I got involved with promoting bands as a means to put our band on as the opener for somebody famous, So we opened up for Edgar Winter and the Tubes and Eric Burden and a bunch of these acts, and it was because we were the promoters, so we just put our own band on, as the opener.
Sure.
I mean, sometimes you just got to create your own environment,
Yeah, that's actually pretty common.
At one point, there's a song on the website called "Tell It Like It Is." It's just a slow ballad. It was actually when we released it, the #1 adult contemporary station in Vegas started putting it on their A-list rotation. So we're getting played every hour. And I thought, well, something's got to come out of this. I mean, we had no management. We had no label, no nothing. We just did it ourselves. And for 2 weeks, this is getting played. They're starting to get requests for it. All of a sudden, they sold the station, changed the format. And that was it. I mean, there was nothing else we could do. Nobody had latched onto it yet. We're trying to make some phone calls and stuff, but it was like, whatever, And I've got some stories and shit that over the years. I mean, I walked into Capitol Records in 1981 or so with a briefcase in one hand and a guitar in the other. And I said, I'm not leaving here until somebody listens to my stuff.
Nice. How did that go?
It was like a two-beer Wednesday afternoon, and the security guard, he's just rolling his eyes, so he calls upstairs and some guy gets on the phone. He assures me they can't let everybody up, but if I leave my stuff, he'll listen to it. Well, I did have a rejection slip in the mail Monday when I got home, so at least I feel like somebody listened to it,
Right, right. It was just the
Well, you know,
security guard just stuffed a canned letter into an envelope and sent it on its way.
well, and another project I used to do in 1991, I had a magazine that was letting me write them like a half a page column every month. It was called Maximum Rock,
Okay.
MaximumRock.com. So they had a website and an actual magazine. So for a year and a half, I was writing The Adventures of Dino Danger.
Hmm.
And they were just little road stories and that kind of shit, and they'd be just a page or two, whatever. For them, it was a half a column. And when that went out of business, so about 10 years ago, I said, well, shit, I'm going to put all these together into a little self-published book. So you can go on Amazon now and off my website even and just order The Adventures of Dino Danger. And I've recently, that's one of my new projects. As I started, it says The Adventures of Dino Danger Volume 1. I just started, I'm 4 chapters into The Adventures of Dino Danger Volume 2.
Nice.
And I've
Okay.
also written 2 fiction novels, which, those are just have nothing to do with music, but just for the record.
Sure.
Somebody please buy them.
So, what would you say are some of your favorite memories in the time that you have been working in music? Obviously, getting kicked out of Capitol Records is, I guess, up there, but what else
was a
kind of
good
stands
one.
out for you?
I once got to do a commercial in 1975 or 6, I believe it was. But I got to have a principal role in a Gulf Oil commercial.
Okay.
And it was actually played on the Super Bowl that year and on Saturday Night Live. So I got a few months of royalties out of that, which, paid the rent for a while.
Nice.
In 1989, a buddy of mine that we were playing in the band together, he's a bass player, and he talked me into auditioning for the Gong Show in Las Vegas.
Hmm.
And they ended up flying us out there, picked us up in a limo, and we won.
Nice.
So, and
Nice.
it was the last year that it was on. So it wasn't even Chuck Barris anymore. It was True Don Blue and stuff. But all that stuff's on my website. So go to dinodanger.com and you can all go into my bio, and on the links are all, are yellow. So you can just click the links, and I got all kinds of crap up there.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say next. Where can people check you out? Is it just your website, or do you have any other social media out there?
That's the best thing. Everything is there because you can link to I've got links to my YouTube channel on there. I've got links to my TikTok and my Facebook. All that stuff is on my website. So the easiest way to remember is just dinodanger.com. I've got a Spotify link. I've got just everything to buy the records and stuff, T-shirts, the books, and that kind of thing. So it's all on there, but
Awesome.
It's got all my bio info and stuff too. So.
Okay, and I always like to give the people that I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their last words. So just a message that you want to throw out there.
Oh man, it's been up and down. I mean, I've had years where I've made over $100,000 just playing cover material, and I've had years where I've made less than 20. I'm kind of in one of those now, with COVID and everything that went on. I mean, that just slapped everybody's bottom really hard for that. So now it's just a matter of getting by and stuff. But if I could do it all over again, I probably wouldn't do it any different. I'd try. If I had forethought, there's some mistakes. I'll give you another quick story if you got a minute. Am I pressed for time here?
No, go for it.
Okay. There was during the course of when this is another thing. I recorded a song on Ritz Records in 1981 called "How Can I Say I Love You When You're Sitting on My Face," and it was kind of Dr. Demento played it on his radio show, that kind of thing. It was getting out there, but it was just a silly little. It's like a southern rock kind of thing where you're pushing the ones and it's rock and roll, but it was getting a little traction and stuff. So I was married to my second wife at the time, who had a very good contact at Scotty Brothers Records. In fact, he was a vice president, a guy named Tad Dowd. So she talks him into meeting with me. She goes, yeah, my husband's got this record out. Can't you do something for him and stuff? He goes, well, let me hear it. So we go to LA and in the Beverly Hills and I bring him the record. He goes, we're just getting ready to be distributed by Sony. He goes, let me take this upstairs. Some of the guys are up there. Let me see what they think. So I'm thinking, oh man, this is it. This is great. I got something's got to come out of this. He comes down, he's laughing. I thought that's a good sign, because it's a comedy song, but there's no dirty words in it. It's just, suggested.
Mm-hmm.
He comes down, he's laughing. He goes, oh man, they loved it. Everybody's laughing. I go, so I get a record deal? He goes, oh no. I go, what do you mean? Oh no. He goes, we can't use this. He goes, it's a jukebox hit. I go, but there must be a million jukeboxes, across the country. He goes, but we don't distribute to them,
Mm-hmm.
So now, a few months go by and I'm still out on the road. I'm playing Ramada Inns and Holiday Inns to make a living and shit, just playing whatever's current or a little oldies, whatever, was going on at the time. And he calls me up and he says, okay, I got a gig for you at the Whiskey on it's a Saturday night at 11 o'clock. And you just do one show and it pays you $250. Well, now at that time, I wasn't familiar with LA and that club scene and stuff. And unbeknownst to me, most of the bands out in LA were paying to play at the Whiskey, not getting paid, let alone getting a Friday night spot at 11 o'clock at night. I mean, this was gold, that he was offering me, but I had no clue. So I start going, well, Dad, what am I supposed to do? I'm somewhere in Missouri right now. I got to take a whole week off to bring the band out there. I don't, we got no place to stay and blah, blah, blah. It's only $250. And all of a sudden I hear click. That's the last time I ever spoke to him or ever talked to me, Tried to contact him a couple more times. He wanted nothing else to do with me. So my advice to you is, I don't know what's the moral of that story. Don't be a big whiner, when you get an opportunity like that. Do a little research first or something. I mean, who knows? I'm sure he would have had people there to listen to us. It would have been a golden showcase opportunity. And I kind of like wham, my pussy hurts, and who knows what I missed out on. So take chances, especially when you're younger. I mean, I didn't even start settling into the whole cover thing hard and as a living until I hit my 40s. Of course, that's when I started making the $100,000 a year. But, so you just got to weigh. You got to determine. I've never had any children, so that's never come into the equation for me as far as the whole family thing. It's really just me. So, like I said, 4 wives later, be prepared for some of that.